Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump has made a comment on the press conference he had with Benjamin Netanyahu a few days ago. This is from his Truth Social. And by the way, he's still mainly using his Truth Social for these important addresses. This was screenshotted from his Truth Social by his X account and posted onto X. It says the Gaza Strip would be turned over to the United States by Israel at the conclusion of fighting. So that seems to me a little bit different than what Trump had originally envisioned. It sounded like originally what Trump was insinuating when he was with Netanyahu was that the United States would potentially send troops there to make sure the fighting ended and then the rebuild would happen. But here it says at the conclusion of fighting, so I'm guessing he's expecting Israel uh, to come to some type of agreement with Palestine in terms of negotiations, and then that would hand over the Gaza Strip to Israel, and then the Gaza Strip would be turned over to the United States from Israel. The Palestinians, people like Chuck Schumer, would have already been resettled in a far safer and more beautiful community with the new and modern homes in the region. They would actually have a chance to be happy, safe, and free. The U.S., working with great development teams from all over the world, would slowly and carefully begin the construction of what would become one of the greatest, most spectacular developments of its kind. No soldiers. So here it is. No soldiers by the U.S. would be needed. Stability for the region would reign. So now he's saying there's not going to be any soldiers. Because remember, they asked him about it, the press did, and he said, well, maybe there'll be soldiers. We don't know. A lot of Trump people came out against that. Just people in general, honestly, about U.S. military involvement in the Middle East. It's a horrible idea. So now Trump says, this was earlier this morning, no soldiers from the United States. And I don't think, I never thought that was happening anyways, but I'm not understanding what he thinks is going to happen here in terms of this war ending. I thought originally, and I still kind of think it, when Trump said, oh, it was going to be, because now it doesn't even seem like it's, I guess he is saying it's going to be the United States area. Because the thing that they're starting to swing a lot of MAGA people is, oh, well, this is an idea for Trump to develop it, and there's potential for business here and to make money. You don't want to play around with the Middle East and owning any land in the Middle East if you're the United States. It's not a good idea at all. It's not even close to worth it it's just not. And trust me, I understand natural resources and getting it. I wanted Trump to take Greenland back in the summer, and I've been covering it, and it needs to happen because that's going to be very good for trillions of dollars in natural resources. But the Middle East is a totally different ballgame. You want less involvement in the Middle East, not more. And that's why people said, well, let's wait a second when it comes to involvement in the Middle East. And, people saying that Netanyahu was blindsided by Trump, and Trump's this, it made no sense. Netanyahu, I'm sure, loved the idea. And this is, Trump is saying that Israel and Palestine are going to reach some agreement to where Israel gets the Gaza Strip, and then the Gaza Strip gets turned over to the United States and gets redeveloped by the United States and potentially other countries, because you see it says working with other great development teams from all over the world. He's going to redevelop the area. And then, to be fair, Trump did say that Palestinians could return, although that is honestly, it wouldn't even be up to Trump at that point, because when you're talking about rebuilding this, I would imagine it's going to take a significant period of time to where Trump's not even going to be in office anymore. So the idea that Trump is saying Palestinians would return is kind of irrelevant. I'm not even sure he would decide that based off of the rebuilding time period. Trump says they would slowly and carefully begin the construction of what a Dubai 2.0 in Gaza. So yeah, this is a little bit of seems like a different tone than what Trump first said. There can't be any soldiers. Trump knows that. He's not dumb. I know people say, well, you're controlled by Israel and stuff. Trump's not sending soldiers. It's not going to happen. He wants there to be some type of peace deal, and he understands. I mean, look at a map. You really think a peace deal and a two-state solution with Palestinians still controlling the Gaza Strip will not lead to more war? Really? Now, the West Bank is another story. If you talk about, maybe redrawing the borders of that, putting in a demilitarized zone, I mean, it just seems like at this point, Trump wants there to be a peaceful solution with no future fighting. But this is, very good news for Israel if something like this did happen, in terms of the United States taking control of the Gaza Strip and redeveloping it. 100% it would be great news for Israel. And so we'll have to see what ends up happening. But it does seem like Trump realized the idea of sending soldiers, it's not going to happen. And also, what does this mean? Because originally it sounded like there was going to be some type of enforcement by the United States to make sure this war ended. What he's saying here is there's not going to be enforcement. What's going to happen is there's going to be some type of negotiation, maybe facilitated by the United States, but it would be between Israel and Palestine with no U.S. troop involvement on the ground. And then once that negotiation happened, presumably Israel would take control of the Gaza Strip and they would hand it over to the United States, and the United States would rebuild it with no U.S. troop involvement. I think that's what he's saying. And I don't think I've heard him say, because he did say a few days ago that there would potentially be Israel annexing the West Bank, but I haven't heard him talk about that here. He didn't mention anything in this tweet on what's going to be happening there. So we'll have to see what will end up happening here, but it does seem like there's a little bit of a different tone in terms of no soldiers needed for the United States, and there just can't be. And I do think this could just be Trump trying to get some type of peace negotiation kickstarted between Israel and Palestine in some way, because he knows he wants this war to be over during his term, preferably within the next few months. The fight to get the ceasefire, both Biden and Trump combining, saying it was really Trump. I mean, both the diplomats of Israel and Palestine said Trump was the one, considering he was coming back into office. And when that ceasefire agreement was reached, it was like a week before he came back into office. And that's not me being this, like I hate Biden or anything. I mean, it's just the reality. It was Trump who did it. If Biden had won, there would be no the ceasefire agreement. The reason was because Trump was coming back into office. But Trump is just trying to end the war. And if the United States did, I guess, get control of this area and there was investment, to me, it's just like, it's really not worth it. It's not worth it to be involved in the Middle East. I don't want any. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter what I want. The United States is a different entity. The United States should not want any land in the Middle East. That's absurd. They should want land in Greenland. I'll agree there. The Middle East is not worth it. It's just not. And maybe it will be like an economic zone or something, but then who would enforce it? I'm talking about the Gaza Strip. Would Israel enforce it? It seems like it's just going to end up being Israel's, let's be honest here, if this happens. The conclusion of fighting. What is that? Is the United States going to help conclude the fighting? I mean, you're going to need to nudge somehow, because the Palestinians don't want to leave that area. And then I'd imagine they'd be relocated to Egypt, honestly. Another thing I'm sure everyone has been talking about, the Politico subscriptions. Is this legit? Did NASA spend $500K on Politico subscriptions? NASA leadership has verified that this was canceled today. And so the excuse when it comes to something like this, NASA said that these were some type of top information that they got from Politico, and this wasn't just the subscriptions you get for these political sites. It's like the no ads. Apparently that's not what this is. It's more in depth. They get information from Politico that's so important they spent $500K a year on it. But yeah, I mean, the dynamic of the USAID stuff is pretty crazy. If you guys understand the timeline of what happened, it seems like Doge got wind of this and where the money was going, and it was an immediate code red for Democrats, which should already raise some red flags, considering this is 0.7% of the federal budget. It's not even 1%. But the Democrats realized, and this is the establishment Dems, I mean, this is a money laundering scheme, and when it comes to the political donations of U.S. tax dollars, 97% of that was going to Democrats. And now you've got all these subscriptions, and so that's why they started going crazy, and it trickles down, and they tell all their dumbass liberal, Democratic Party members, and now you've got all these Democrat, just normal citizens, prevent government waste. That's what it is. I mean, what are they doing? And then they try and go after Musk and say, well, he shouldn't have the credentials to look at all this stuff, because if he didn't have the credentials, he wouldn't be able to call it out and expose it. How else is he going to expose it if he can't see it? So it's just funny how it was such a small amount, but they realized that, oh yeah, this U.S. and now how about the Africans, native Africans, who get some of this money, because that's another part of this. It goes to disenfranchised countries. They say a lot of the money doesn't even reach them. No wonder they don't like Elon Musk. I mean, this is what he was brought in to do. Yes, this is the point. This is the point. I mean, we're going to remove things that are wasteful, and he wants to reduce the deficit to $1 trillion, cut it in half, and we'll see if he's able to do that. But I just think it's funny, the dynamic of this, to where the Democrats are like, oh no. the Democrats that knew where this money was going are like, this is a code red, sound the alarms. We got to protest outside. And they got, like, you know, all the Congress people, the Democrats outside. This is terrible. How dare Elon Musk try and eliminate government waste? Oh my goodness. The government can't spend $1 million on a subscription to Politico. Oh, it's a travesty. Elon Musk is so bad. Elon Musk just cut off the government's $2 million subscription to CNN Plus, or what was their package? I don't remember. I remember they had something, they launched it, it was like $7, and then they canceled it immediately. Oh my goodness. Oh, the government is losing all their subscriptions. We have to go protest. Dude, what if there's, like, these people protesting this stuff? You're protesting NASA losing a $500,000 subscription to Politico, where they think they get, like, this top information? I mean, what are you protesting? I don't understand. This is the point of eliminating government waste. What are you mad about? And then they're like, oh, it goes to countries that need it. The people of those countries are reporting they don't even get it, and they want it ended as well. And I'm sure they get some of it. I mean, you have to give them something. It can't be too obvious. But either way, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.